Live webcasting this morning, so if I could please remind members and others to use their microphones and to turn them off when not speaking. The form of the meeting will be that the case officer will present her report. We will then invite the applicant to speak, and members will then be able to ask questions of the officer and of the applicant. And then once everyone has spoken, are we expecting Totnes Town Council as well?
Yes, we were informed that Councillor Emily Price would be attending, but I haven't heard anything different since last week.
So she will also be able to speak on behalf of Totnes Town Council. Once everybody has spoken and members of the subcommittee have asked them questions, the subcommittee will retire to consider our decision. And we will then return and I will read that decision out. I'm joined on the top table by officers and members who I'd now like to invite to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Amelia Bolter, Senior Democratic Services Officer and Clerk to this committee.
Julie Carson, Member of this committee.
Naomi Stacey, Licensing Officer for South Hams District Council.
Harry Leonis, Licence Officer, South Hams and West Devon.
Thank you all.
And Alan Parr.
Oh, sorry.
I'm legal advisor to the committee, but I take no part in the decision making.
Thank you, Alan. Sorry, you were the next item on my list. So, but Alan joining us, as you can see, by Teams. Moving on to the agenda. Item 1, division of the agenda. I know of no reason to divide the agenda. Item 2, urgent business. I am not aware of any urgent business. Item 3, declarations of interest. In accordance with the Code of Conduct, members are invited to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests, including the nature and extent of such interests that they may have in any items to be considered at this meeting. Members, are there any declarations of interest? Splendid. In that case, we'll move on to item number 4, which is the application for a new premises licence at the Riverside Cafe, Steamer Quay Road, Totnes, Devon, TQ95AL. And I would like to, that's quite all right. Please have a seat. I would like to invite the officer, Naomi Stacey, to present her report.
Thank you, Chair. So we're here today to consider the grant of a premises licence from Mr. Brian Moss for Riverside Cafe. The application before us is for certain licensable activities, which are late night refreshment, indoors and outdoors, Monday to Sunday from 11 p.m. till midnight, the supply of alcohol for consumption on and off the premises, Monday to Sunday from 10 a.m. till midnight, and the opening hours of the premises are due to be Monday to Sunday, 8 a.m. till 12:30 a.m. He has also requested non-standard timings for late night refreshment and supply of alcohol on New Year's Eve to be from the end of permitted hours on New Year's Eve to the start of permitted hours on the following day. And you'll see the full application at Appendix A of your papers, as well as the premises licence plan. So during the consultation period, the police licensing officer spoke with the applicant and they agreed a number of changes to the application conditions and some additional conditions, and these are at Appendix D. These include changes to the opening hours and licensed hours unless there is a bona fide pre-booked function taking place at the premises. So the agreement has been that the premises will only open beyond 10:30 for a pre-booked bona fide function or pre-advertised event, where the sale of alcohol will cease at midnight and the premises will close at 12:30. If the premises is due to close at 10:30, the sale of alcohol will cease at 10. In addition, anytime the venue is open beyond 10:30, there will be a risk assessment carried out as to the need for door staff and the use of plastic receptacles. Also agreed with the police licensing officer is the condition that alcohol sold for consumption on the premises will be consumed while seated, and that substantial food will always be available when the premises is open for the sale of alcohol. And there's been rewording of the conditions for CCTV, the staff training, and the refusals register. So that is all in Appendix D. I would ask that if you are minded to make the decision to grant the premises licence, that you would include those amendments in your decision. So the reason we have brought the application to the subcommittee to consider is because during the consultation period, we received a representation from Totnes Town Council, the details of which are at Appendix C. Their concerns relate to public safety and the prevention of public nuisance. One of the issues raised is the proximity of the premises to a stretch of the River Dart where the quayside has no barrier, and therefore the risk of someone falling in the river has been raised. I have provided some photographs in your list of documents to see and as well as a location plan at Appendix B, which kind of shows the distance between the premises and the area of the river with no barrier. In addition, concerns have also been raised about the need for the cafe's customer to use the nearby public toilets, as there is currently no toilet provision available to customers within the premises itself. The applicant and our assets team at South Hams District Council have confirmed that they do have an arrangement where access to the public toilets is available throughout the cafe's opening hours, and that will be during the extended opening hours if those are granted. However, customers do have to walk further down the quay past the unbarriered section of the river to reach the public toilets, which you can see in the photos and the plan. Mr. Moss has responded to the concerns raised by the Town Council, which you can also find in your documents. He confirmed that he has got the access to the toilets throughout his opening hours, and in addition he has researched types of barriers which could potentially be put in place along the stretch of river, which include a chain barrier or steel post and rails. The land itself is owned by South Hams, and having spoken with our assets team, their preference would be for no barrier to be installed here, although they would not object providing it was suitable and safe for the location. The Dartmouth Steam Railway and Riverboat Company have confirmed that any barrier that was put in that section would need to be removable to ensure that their passengers could alight during the high tide, when they wouldn't be able to use the steps at either end. We do not currently have information available to advise if a removable barrier would be safe or suitable at this location, and if so, what type would be appropriate. The premises has sold alcohol throughout the month of August using temporary event notices, and the hours for this was between 11 AM and 10 PM. The licensing team and Environment Health have not received any complaints about the premises during these occasions. They have now used they have used 25 of their maximum 26 days, so they would have 1 day left to use for temporary event notices before the end of December this year. So please let me know if you have any further questions about the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, anything? Could I just pick up, when you say that the assets team said their preference would be for no barrier, did they explain why that would be the case?
I believe it was more because obviously it's been this situation for a number of years, and they themselves when I spoke with them, didn't have the knowledge or the information as to what type of barrier would be appropriate. So I believe their view was it's been this way for a number of years, and they would prefer it to remain that way, but they would be open to a barrier being installed if we had that information and advice available on the type that would be appropriate. But that was their view, leaning towards no barrier if possible.
Thank you. So if members are happy to proceed, I would now like to invite the applicant, Mr. Moss, to speak.
Good morning. Firstly, when I applied for the alcohol licence through my solicitor, he obviously made it aware that I should go for full opening times and as many days as possible. But on reflection of this, I don't really see that the cafe is going to be open in the evenings, especially when it's dark. And I see the cafe only really as a daytime facility for people. So I obviously understand the concerns that you have, but the nature of the cafe and its location, I don't think that I'm going to be sort of attracting the type of clientele that possibly you think this is going to sort of attract. I'm sort of predominantly looking at sort of middle-aged people, families with children, and during the months of August and the first 2 weeks of September, when I did sell alcohol, I've gone back through some records. We only actually sold around about 15 alcohol units per day to a range of customers across a broad spectrum of age groups and backgrounds. But we had nearly sort of 400 to 500 people every day come in and use the facilities of the cafe. And the reflection of the alcohol sales against that volume of people shows that this really isn't a business which is going to be sort of turned into like a pub or something like that. It's really just to offer, a nice glass of local wine or cider or beer to holiday makers and local people that really come for the food. So whilst I can see your concerns, I don't really think that I'm going to be sort of turning this place into the type of establishment where I'm going to get sort of people sat around drinking, X amount of units of alcohol and then having to stagger off to use the toilet. I see this place really as a facility which invites people that just want to spend quality time by the river, having something nice to eat, and basically, the chance of having a drink if they want to by the side of that. Most people that frequent the cafe come by car, and it's a real destination cafe whereby people just don't sort of walk down there. They've actually got to make a planned journey to come and visit us. So I don't really see that during the hours of daylight, which is predominantly my hours of opening, there is this risk of people staggering from the cafe to the toilet in an intoxicated state where they're possibly going to fall into the river. I think with the location that it is and the people that it attracts, I think there's more chance of a young toddler running away from their parents and falling over the edge, as opposed to someone that's using our facilities becoming intoxicated, which that wouldn't be allowed to happen anyway as part of my, personal supervisory role. But I just don't see that this is going to turn into a public house where, I've got loads and loads of people drinking and then trying to stagger off to find the toilet. Primarily, it is a cafe which offers food and with, a alcohol license, to complement it. That's all I've got to say at the moment.
Thank you very much. That was very clear. Members, do you have any questions?
Hi, thank you. You have asked for licenses. You've used 24 days so far. So was this running up late at night?
Sorry, no. The latest we opened on any night was around about 6:30, and that was in the height of the summer season.
And so always daylight as well?
Yes.
Hello. I note that you're looking to extend it for New Year's Eve. Is that correct?
Again, when my solicitor applied for the licence, all these extra timings and opening hours were put down because he sort of not coerced me into thinking that it would be beneficial for the future, but he said you might as well apply for it now and get it under your belt so that if you do need to use it in the future, you've got it there. But I just don't see, and my plans do not involve this place opening until 10 or 11 o'clock at night, selling alcohol to whoever wants to come along and drink. My primary focus is really on the sale of food with, you know, alcoholic consumption during the daytime if somebody wants it.
So I believe it is within our powers, if we were to grant this, to restrict the opening times below what you've asked for. If we were to take that into consideration, what realistic opening times would you think we should be thinking about?
Well, I did go to the police when the licensing officer for the Devon and Cornwall Police contacted me, and I did actually ask to extend the permitted hours from 8:30 to 9:30. But if I'm honest with myself and I'm realistic, this isn't a cafe which attracts a lot of people after 5:30, 6 o'clock. Most people have vacated the area, so it becomes quite quiet down there. So I would be happy to limit the sale of alcohol to probably 7 o'clock, 7:30, that sort of time.
Thank you. I also have a question. Can we just drill down? I haven't really understood the nature of your arrangement regarding access to the public toilets. So is a gents, a ladies, and a disabled facility, if I understand correctly. Do you have access to all of those after they've been locked by our officers? Okay, so I've got a master key, which basically can unlock the ladies, the gents, and the disabled suite. In addition to that, South Hams Council they've taken away the radar lock on the disabled suite, and they've introduced a simple latch system which can be easily opened from the outside if someone was to become ill on the inside. But the arrangement at the moment is that the ladies and gents will be locked at normal time, together with the front door, and then if I need to get into the toilets, it will simply be a case of the disabled suite is available to anybody. But I do have the key, and you know, I afford that sort of privilege of using those toilet facilities. Thank you. Do members have any further questions? In which case, I would like to invite Emily Price to speak to Totnes Town Council's objections. Could you press the right-hand button on?
Sorry, so first I just want to say there was overwhelming support for the application. The councillors really liked the idea of that venue stepping up a bit and becoming something more vibrant and interesting on the riverbank. So I don't want you to get the feeling there was a sort of crowd of people saying, good God, no. But we did have concerns, and I think you've allayed quite a lot of the concerns. So the fact that there will continue to be access to the loos when you're open is great. I think some of our concerns were driven by the idea of you applying for licences that, you know, until 12 and so on, which took you later than most of the pubs. And with the best will in the world, whatever your business strategy might be, when the drinkers in town realise there's only one place open and it's always open, when they're stumbling out of the last other place that's open, it'll be to you that they come, would be. So that's been allayed. And again, I think that there was full support for the idea of normal licensing hours along with everyone else, so that place by the river with the gap didn't become the place where the drunkest people in town rocked up every night because you'd be closed at the same time as everyone else. So, and I think if ongoing, if things were to change and you did decide that 7 or 7:30 or 8 wasn't enough and you'd like to continue, I think we would really want that barrier issue to be reassessed because it is a risk when people are drunk, you know, and risk assessment is sort of key, you know. Yeah, but otherwise, I think we had reservations about sale of alcohol for taking away, particularly when it's at 12 o'clock after everywhere else again is closed, because that will draw people with a particular, you know, well, normal people who just want a bottle of wine and realise everywhere's closed, but also people who are heavy drinkers, let's say, if you're the last place in town selling that. So anyway, you've alleviated a lot of my concerns, and I just want to say there is real support for you doing something interesting down there, and it, yeah, that's, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we do have to be mindful that the license would run with the property, so Mr. Moss could leave, and if someone else took over, which is why I asked about the question about whether you'd be willing to accept more restricted hours, because obviously that would then carry on to any future owner. Do any members have questions of Ms. Price? I'm, if I may, going to ask you the same question I asked Mr. Moss. What would you? So, would you, when you say normal opening hours? It's been so long since I've had a night out in Totnes that.
Well, as a rule, pubs close at 11, and increasingly these days, if it's a bit quiet, they shut up a bit earlier, or, you know, start moving people on. But so yeah, our concern was a venue. We're looking at your application to be later than everyone else every night, to have New Year's Eve till 5 in the morning, and it wouldn't take long before your establishment had that reputation as the late night drinking place, you know. And I can't see you serving food till midnight. So. So what the image that presented was of a place where everyone went to drink late at night. But yeah, as a restaurant bar, serving alcohol and people eating, and, you know, maybe a little bit drinking after the food is finished, but until 11 when licensing generally finishes, nobody had a problem with that at all. Bearing in mind the safety issue, you know, but not on principle, you know.
Thank you. Well, I think that I think we've heard from both sides. Do councillors have? Sorry, yes, please.
Sorry. Can I just say that the main reason why I wanted to supply off sales of alcohol is really just to satisfy anybody that maybe was camping in it's closed at the moment, but the campsite opposite. It's really, if someone comes to this area, we only have a very small selection of alcohol anyway. We do 2 different types of cider from Hunt's Brewery, Stoke Gabriel. We do 2 different types of lager and a blonde beer from Bayes Brewery, and then we do some sharpened wines. The only reason I applied for an off license facility is just so that if somebody wants to come down in a camper van and they want to take back, you know, a 3 litre bottle of, or a canister of local cider to their motorhome, that's generally what people, you know, when they get to sort of that sort of age and they've got money to spare and things like that, that's what they want to come and do. They want to come and sample local produce, and the facility wasn't to offer it to, you know, 18 or 19-year-olds that are going to rock up. It was basically to satisfy the needs of any people that come to Totnes to visit the area and just want to try local food and drink. So that's the only reason that I applied for the possibility of selling off-site. But it wasn't to offer lots and lots of selection. It was just to offer a very small selection of local, you know, food and drink.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd now like to invite Councillor Abbott to speak.
So you were sort of on the spot earlier, but your whole discussion was that you are not bothered about the later hours. It's going backwards and forwards, as you know, not after 11. It seems quite clear. But would you? Are you sure that you would be comfortable with 7 o'clock as a time? And is that possible under licensing law?
It's possible if the reasons for doing so is to promote the full licensing objectives. So if it's deemed to promote the prevention of public nuisance or public safety, to reduce the hours for supply of alcohol to a particular time, then that is perfectly reasonable and appropriate if there are those reasons for it. Could I just add something in relation to off sales, just to be aware? The Business and Planning Act 2020 is still in effect. It was extended recently. And one of those provisions is that any premises that sells alcohol for consumption on the premises can automatically sell alcohol for consumption off the premises. That has now been extended until the end of March 2025. So just to be aware, if there was a decision to remove the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises, we wouldn't be able to prevent a business from doing so until at least the end of March 2025. So just to be aware in case there was any confusion with that.
So may I return to you and your latest timing, having had time to consider? What are you comfortable with 7?
I'm quite comfortable with that. I did sort of come into the business thinking that I could maybe go into the evenings a lot more with trade. But to be quite honest, with issues of staff and things like that, working hours, at the moment it's certainly not feasible to think about any extra hours down there. And I have quickly come to realise that this business thrives on daytime activity and not, it's not somewhere where, apart from a few dog walkers, people come, you know, in their droves in the evening. It's predominantly a daytime cafe, which attracts, you know, the right sort of people that I'm after.
Ms. Price.
I would say that there was a huge amount of enthusiasm from everyone I've spoken to about the idea of a venue down there that people could go in the evenings as well. I think it would take a while to build up that reputation, and particularly I think in the summers with that outside space and some gigs. I mean, probably not rock music blasting out because of it, you know, but sort of a folk band or whatever. But what I would say is don't sort of exclude that based on what's happening now, because nobody's been used to it being open. It's been seasonal and very early closure. So just if you're thinking about future planning, I can't see why you wouldn't apply for a bit later just to cover that in case some evenings you wanted to do a gig or an evening or a special dinner or something.
Thank you, Councillor Carson.
Can I ask, are you looking at private functions?
I was just going to come into that actually. I would like to do private functions down there. It wouldn't interest me to take any bookings in the evening time because I wouldn't want the responsibility of, again, looking after people on that journey to the toilets in the dark. But certainly if there was things like maybe like an after sort of wedding reception or a christening, I wouldn't be adverse to taking a booking for that. And I suppose realistically, if I went for something like an 8 o'clock finish for alcohol, I think that would satisfy the type of function that I'm sort of after.
Okay, well, I think we've pretty much done a full tour of the subject. So at this point, thank you very much for your contributions, and I'm glad there's a good deal of agreement between applicant and objectors. I suspect that's quite rare. The three of us will now retire to consider our decision. Thank you, everybody. Sorry for the slight delay. So we have considered the matter. We've considered the application for a new premises licence, and we've considered the statement of licensing policy, the government guidance, and our obligations that relate to the promotion of licensing objectives. We have read carefully the written representations from all parties, plus additional statements from persons here today. And we have also considered the additional conditions proposed by the police and accepted by the applicant. It is our decision to grant the application subject to the following changes being incorporated into the operating schedule. That opening hours be from 8 AM to 8 PM daily, with the sale of alcohol permitted between 11 AM and 7:30 PM, and that the conditions included in Appendix D apply, with corresponding changes in terms of hours as stated in Appendix D. The reasons for our decision are as follows: in the interests of public safety and the prevention of public nuisance. And that is that. So thank you all for coming, and we wish you best of luck in your continuing operations.
Can I just ask you to clarify, so it's 8 o'clock in the evening, the maximum permitted hour, and does that mean that when you said 8 o'clock in the morning and then 7:30?
Sorry, so the permitted opening times from 8 AM in the morning to 8 PM in the evening, with the sale of alcohol permitted from 11 AM till 7:30 PM. So a standard half-hour drinking up time after last orders.
Right, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our business for today. Thank you all for attending.